Walaikum Assalam.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
That's
Walaikum
great.
salam. Yes, yes.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Well, let's start the presentation. So, the topic for today is gauging the value of social media in B2B sales. The reason I have chosen this topic is because I hear so much about social media as the answer to all sales and everything that's going around. There has been so much doubt, and no doubt, there has been such a great impact of social media in our businesses and daily lives that it is it's automatically that we think of it as playing an important part in sales. But what needs to be done is to gauge exactly what social media can do if it is B2B sales and how it can help you, and also, most important, how it cannot help you. So, this is going to be our topic, and we are going to try to gauge as much as it is possible to specifically find out what social media can do for you as far as uh, B2B sales is concerned. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know if all of you can see my screen. Can you?
Yes, we can.
That's great. That's great. Okay,
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
that's great. Okay, first of all, I would request all of you to keep your mics off and also your videos off for better bandwidth. Um, I will welcome any questions anytime if you have one. While doing my presentation, I'm also going to ask if there are any questions after maybe a couple each and every slide or a couple of slides or when an important concept has been done. But if you have any questions in the middle of the presentation, just let me know. What I understand that I'm going to burst a lot of myths around social media, and that might surprise many people. So the questions are bound to come. But of course, you are welcome to ask any questions at any time. And you may also, I would say, if you want, challenge uh, the way I see things according to your own experience, maybe, and that can lead into a good discussion for everyone to uh, under, understand more of the perspective that we are talking about. Okay, as Iram has already presented that my profile, so you all know what my background is. Thank you so much, Iram. You are very kind. And
You're welcome.
let me say a few words about SIP, the Sales Institute of Pakistan, before we start. So we offer four kind of services. First of all is public training and coaching that you already know of. This is a public training. We also do in-house training. And as far as coaching is concerned, I am available for one-to-one coaching to any of you who desire me to coach him in the field of sales. We do lead generation and sales management services. If your company is struggling with sales or would like to uh, do prospecting and sales management professionally, if you think that there is some kind of support is needed in order to generate leads, which you could store, we provide that. We also provide sales consultancy, in which we, generally speaking, uh, look at your processes and optimize it for productivity. And of course, I am also available for public speaking at sales events. Any of you want to contact us for any of these services can definitely directly contact me or my team, my manager, Ms. Iram Amir. My contacts and the contacts of the Sales Institute of Pakistan will also be given in the last slide of the presentation. Presentation flow. First of all, we will be defining what actually is included in B2B sales as far as this presentation is concerned. Social selling in B2B, we will define what social selling is, and actually we will define more what social selling is not. So we will be, for the discussion of this, for the purpose of the discussion in this forum, we are going to define exactly what social selling is. Then we will talk about some truths about social media as I see it around. And then the main topic of today, social media strategies, how you should maximize your um, productivity from social media if you are in B2B sales. We are going to talk a little about LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and what the strengths of each and every platform is. We will talk about how to prospect through social media if your product is a B2B sales, and we will talk about social selling in a nutshell. Also, let me remind you, this is not a presentation about uh, tools. This is not going to help you if you're looking for some kind of tools that are available to manage your social media presence. What we are trying to do in this presentation is that we are trying to get a general idea of how to make your social media presence be more productive from a management point of view. Okay, let's first of all define what B2B sales is for the purpose of this particular presentation. As the definition says, B2B sales, also known as business to business sales, it's all about when a company sells to businesses. When a company uh, sells to another company, and why it is different than selling to consumers is because when you sell to another company, the processes are different. Generally speaking, it is more complex. It is not just one person deciding about the solution, but it's generally a group of people who decide about what you are selling. And also, generally speaking, the value of the transaction is higher. This is how we define B2B sales for this particular presentation. I know, I say again, it is generally the case, and that's why we define it, because in many cases, B2B sales have very low value in the transaction, and it might be purchased just over the internet. But we are not talking about that. We are talking about a transaction that is high in value, complex, and it is decision is usually taken by a group of people. Also, what you can include is B2B sales, which is not actually B2B sales, is how what happens in when a person sells to another person, a high net worth person, something of value such as property. Generally speaking, these transactions, even though they are not in the strictest sense B2B, but since the processes for selling high net worth individuals is different as compared to selling a B2C product, for example, uh, maybe tissue papers, maybe toys, maybe uh, household items. So that's why they can be, since the processes are the same, even though I again say it is not exactly like a B2B sale, but the processes are same. So you can apply some concepts being taught here to the sales in high ticket items to high net worth individuals um, for these sales. Are we clear up till now? We understand what we are going to discuss. I hope this is just the beginning, so there are no questions. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Let me see. There is some uh, message. Okay, so everybody is saying yes, it is clear. Okay, so what is social selling in B2B? So the number one myth that I would like to burst, or maybe you can say the number one point that I would like to make, and which perhaps most of you who are experienced enough already know, B2B generally sales over social media is not selling directly. B2B sales in social media social, is not generally selling directly, but it is actually making social media work for you to generate sales, or basically you can say to coordinate or develop relationship with the prospective buyers. This is the value of B2B. This is the value of social media, social selling in B2B sales. It's not about selling directly, but it is using social media to actually support in sales. So I have listed uh, a number of support programs, support tools, a number of items that you can use as support in social media, which is not going to directly, which is not directly sales, but which is actually supporting you in sales. For example, you can do social research. Social research, as I would say, and I generally use, is that in terms of in social media, I use LinkedIn a lot, whatever works for you. But I'll give more examples of LinkedIn because that is primarily the main tool being used these days for uh, B2B sales or uh, support of B2B sales. So social search is basically finding out more information about your prospective clients, about your customers. You do research about, let's say you want to contact a CIO at a company, and you want to know more about who is the CIO and who are the other team members who are working there, and the details about the CIO. So what you would do is you will go to LinkedIn and read his profile to understand more about that person. So this is social search. Social networking, of course, you have all the liberty to uh, connect with your prospects, with your customers using social media, and perhaps softly, subtly, also find out, um, develop a conversation around what their interests are, and find out what common interests you can find, and then actually talk about how you can help them with their needs. So social networking is when you actually contact your prospects or customers over social media. Social lead generation, as I said about social networking, lead generation happens is when you solicit how your solutions can actually help a company or a person who is in connection with you over social media through your solutions. Again, I would say lead generation is not direct when we are talking about social media, especially LinkedIn, but it is more subtle. You be in network, you present, you just, your profile shows what you are. So they know what you do, and you subtly uh, build a conversation which can actually lead into generating interest in your business. Social inbound marketing is when your efforts are based on how your prospects should contact your organization over social media. You do advertising campaigns, and you also do display information about any new product or anything that you have in sale, and your efforts are focused on finding out leads directly from your clients into your system or in your inbox. You try to arouse their interest and them contacting you rather than you contacting them. Social prospecting is again finding out who can actually buy your product. You can do that definitely. Who is interested in buying your product, or who actually fits the what your product can fits the solution that your product can provide. When you are prospecting, you have uh, an idea about your target customer. So social media can help you in finding out the person who matched that profile, and then contacting them with your pitch. So this is social prospecting. Social trigger event monitoring. Social trigger event monitoring is when um, somebody takes an action, and the information about that action comes to you, and that information about that particular customer or the company or the person whom you are interested in would actually help you in your business. For example, there was one company I was prospecting for, and I found out through social media because I had been following them on social media. I found out that they just signed a contract with another company for a big project. So since I was monitoring this their triggers, so it was a good opportunity for me to contact them and to actually congratulate them for their success. And uh, you need such kind of triggers in order to uh, have a reason for you to contact your prospects or customers. Social competitive intelligence, you can of course find out what your competitors are doing over social media, because they are also active in social media. Social customer relationship management, of course you can be in touch with your customers and find out what your customers actually develop and continue relationship with your customers, not only offline but also online. You can also to say maybe pass them on with certain information regarding that your own company has generated about some new tests that your company has run about your product in the market, or maybe a success about a new customer installation, or maybe some industry report you can share, or maybe some article. So you are in touch with your customers all the time, and you offer customer relationship management. Social account management is basically managing the social accounts of your social media in order to make sure that you look your best over social media. So my point here is, again, I will iterate that social selling in B2B is not about selling directly. It's about all these things. Do we understand what has been communicated to you in this particular slide? Do we all agree? Okay, so I have a couple of answers received on the chat that you all agree with me. If there is any point that you would like to discuss, if there's anything that comes to your mind, you can always interrupt me and ask the question. I'll go to the next slide. I believe we are all clear on this one. Great, great. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Some truth about social media. Okay, so let's talk about social media in a bit more detail right now. What is the truth about social media that I have made out from my experience? I've got 6 or 7 points in that. Let's go one after one. Don't build your house there. They change terms at any time they want. I would like to reiterate this again, and I'm a true believer that social media is owned by private companies. They are working for profit. So your total strategy should not focus on social media, but you should be careful to make sure that you use social media as one of the tools in order to develop your overall strategy for marketing with the clients. I know some companies who spend a lot on social media. I'm not talking about B2C companies. I'm talking about B2B companies. But you can, you, the social media sites can and do change their terms of business at any time. This has happened with Facebook. Many people used to, what I know is that many people used to use Facebook a lot when it first came, but eventually Facebook changed its terms, and when it changed its terms, it became more and more expensive to use Facebook for businesses. So those companies which totally depended upon Facebook for their businesses, it became expensive for them to continue the business in the same way. So that's why my first recommendation is don't build your house there. They change terms at any time they want. Life is short in social media. When I say life is short in social media, I mean you can do campaigns, and campaigns have a lifetime. You can post information, but information that you post might be stale only in 1 day's time. So whatever you post, whatever you do in social media, it gets vanished very quickly. So you have to keep coming up with new content all the time. So in order to keep your audience engaged, your customers, your prospects engaged. So life is short. You have to think of each step at one time and you have to make the best use of it. This is what social media is all about. Your name should appear in searches, whether you're using, um, whether you are promoting through your company name. Actually, you should have the strategy around both your company as well as your own personal social media strategy. Uh, LinkedIn has actually developed so much credibility in the past years that when you search Google, when somebody searches on Google your name, most of the chances are that your name will appear in the social media pages or LinkedIn where your uh, profile is. So um, make sure that you look good on social media at all times. Your personal profile as your company profile should be crisp, should be relevant, and should speak volumes about you because it builds a lot of credibility when your name appears on social media. Believe me, everybody nowadays, when you contact them, searches you on social media to find out, find more about you, especially in the case of B2B. And your name, since it appears on searches, so you have to look good. Fourth point is it sucks all your time. What I understand is that if you don't keep check on social media and how you are using it, very quickly you it is so interesting, it is so engrossing that you end up spending a lot of time on social media. And that's why I believe that there should be a time limit when you go to social media for updates, for making new connections, for whatever purpose you're using it. And what I suggest is it should not be 1 hour in a week, maybe divided into chunks of 20 minutes for 3 days. More time than that, then perhaps your opportunity cost is higher. You are actually spending time more on social media as compared to your other prospecting or business uh, systems. Uh, I again and again reiterate that social media is only one of the tools that you can use in order to, um as a part of your overall strategy for business. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't give all your time to social media only. There are other tools and systems that you can use in order to do your business and prospecting and connect with your customers as well. Do use all of them in in balance. My fifth point is you when you look at your social media pages, what I have noticed is I get to see the same people again and again because maybe my connections are the same and there are some people who are more active in social media, but mostly who are active are the sales people, the HR people, people looking for job, or people not in the at the C level. C-level people are generally speaking, unless until they have a strategy, are not available on social media as much as you will find other kind of people in social media. So that's another reason why you should limit your time uh, in using social media. I'm not saying that there is no way you can use social media in order to contact C-level executives or your decision makers. Of course you can, But this is one of the truths about social media that I want to highlight is that you see same people, which are mostly sales, HR, or people looking for job, generally speaking. So you have to make sure you cut the crap and you are very focused on your objectives for social media. A lot of your connections might have zero value. They might not be your customers. A lot of your connections might not be your customers. They might just be time wasters and they might have zero value as far as business is concerned. But this is the truth. And we should know about this truth when we talk about social media. Spend money. I like to spend money on LinkedIn only to see who has um, seen my profile so that I can view who is interested. There's of course some reason they have seen my profile, so I could see who have seen it, what is their profile, and if I would like to maybe start communication with them, ask any relevant questions or develop business. So this is where you're spending money on social media is wise. Also, it is also wise if you are in the awareness campaign of your product. अगर आप if you want to is do an awareness campaign, then I suggest maybe spending money on advertising is a good reason. But awareness would only give a lot of people about what you do. In order to get your customers or to sell, in order to sell, you have to have a strategy of either communicating with your clients directly, prospects directly, or maybe a strategy to for them to contact you. These are some of the truths which I have experienced uh, from social media. If there are any questions or any comments or any suggestions, I would love to take them.
Hello, Assalamualaikum, sir.
Walaikum Assalam, Basit.
This is Rafik. Sir, I want to say that if what is the medium of best B2B platform? Just like you know that the we have a lot of platform to sell our products, just like softwares and just like Garage and Amazon. I know if I know that what is the best platform, we should do individual based, just like create a page on Facebook, on Instagram, and we are doing business with our pages.
Thank you so much, Basit, for your question. I suggest that you focus on a few platforms that work the best for you. Don't try to be in all the platforms with full force. I understand that a minimum presence is important in all the platforms, but try to uh, try to find out through experience and research which platform is giving you the best results. Uh, for many of the B2B products, I believe LinkedIn is the right product, but your case may be different for any particular reason. So I suggest LinkedIn is the best. It has always worked for me. And I do have presence in Facebook and Insta as well. But that is not the focus where I spend a lot of time and money. And that's not where I get a lot of business. So this is my answer to that. Are we clear, Basit?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. This is great for me.
You're welcome. So shall we proceed ahead? Okay, so there is what kind of a strategy? Hamad is asking what kind of a strategy to get a B2B distributor or a franchisor of a retail brand via Facebook and Insta. Most of them spend their time on their platforms, just not LinkedIn. Um, actually, Hamad, what I understand is um, a distributor or franchisor is usually in Facebook because their product is a consumer product. Most of the distributors or franchise have a retail brand and they use Facebook or Insta because that's a retail brand. Retail brands, again, since if your focus is uh, to get sales from consumers, housewives, and general public, then the Facebook is the right platform. And since we are talking about B2B only, then maybe that's not the right, this is not the right platform to discuss in detail about what strategies should there be for Facebook and Insta for any organization that is into distribution or is a franchise. So I understand a good reason why they spend more time there, because that's where they find clients and most of them buy online. But this is not the case generally with B2B clients, where the sales process is more complex, the value of the item is more high, and a lot of people are involved in sales. So that's why I don't recommend um, using social media for, using Insta or Facebook for B2B sales. Okay, I will now move on to my next slide. There's one more comment in the chat I must look at. Okay, Hamad, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We have another question from Mohammad Farooq Mayani in chat box.
I think that question is already answered, that 20 minutes, I believe 1 hour is good enough for the whole week in social media. If you want to divide time and 20 in chunks of 20 minutes, if you want to spend more time, it has to give you that kind of business, that kind of results. ROI should be there if you want to spend more time than that, according to me. But of course, it's up to you. Shafqat, you want to ask something?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are, Shafqat.
Yeah, sir, this is Shafqat Ali. I'm working as a marketing executive at construction company that is Mac Builders and Developers.
Okay.
So my question is related to digital marketing. Actually, our project is Elite Warehouse Systems. We deal with the warehousing community. We are going to develop warehousing project in Karachi for the first time in Pakistan, a gated proper community system.
Okay.
For that, we are running our project on different platforms using Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media channels.
Okay.
But the nature of our business is B2B and B2C. It is designed for businesses as well as for the personal business owners who are running their businesses.
Okay.
So we are engaging with different platforms. Even we are also registered with Zameen.com.
Okay.
But apart from that, I also want to get some potential lead generation from B2B and B2C. For that purpose, what would be the right media for promoting more and generating more leads?
Thank you so much for your question. First of all, you should very clearly define what kind of profile of the customer you are targeting in B2B and B2C. Once you have a right profile of the customer or the consumer, then you can choose the social media platform accordingly. The profile of the customer in LinkedIn is different as compared to the profile of the consumer or the customer in Facebook and Insta. So first of all, you define exactly who you want to contact. Then you build then you have a strategy for each and every platform. Let's say you say that you had get results from LinkedIn as well as from Facebook. But I'm very sure for Facebook, it's like advertising. But for LinkedIn, you can use direct communication with your customers or your prospects on the basis of their profile. It is very difficult, I believe, to have the profile of the customer directly on Facebook as compared to what it is on LinkedIn. So you have to have a very clear strategy for both, and you can definitely use both the platforms. Is my point clear?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, Shafkat, thank you. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, some social media strategies. This is the main part of our today's presentation. What strategies you should use for social media? Maybe during my discussion in the previous few minutes, we have discussed some of the strategies, but let's look at them at one go, and perhaps this is the best takeaway that you can have from this webinar. Number one strategy, you should have a reason and objective for all your web presence. You should have a reasons and you should have a reason and objective. It's very important that for each and every strategy or each and every for your social media presence, you should know or you should be able to explain to your seniors, this is my reason, this is what I'm doing. For example, one of the reason or objective can be, let's say, prospecting. Okay, if you are prospecting, then the time you spend and the money you spend should focus on prospecting. Let's say it's about awareness. Okay, if your objective is awareness, then your focus of all your energies, your time, and your and the money you spend should be awareness. Let's say you're talking about that your strategy is, or your reason to be there is customer services. Then of course your reason and objective is different, so your strategy would be different. So state your reason and objective, number one. Number two, estimated time and money. Estimate time. Don't spend hours and hours on social media. This is a waste of time. It is so engrossing. It is so interesting. There are so many cat videos out there that you get engrossed in looking at those videos and spending most of your productive work at office into investing your time. So you should estimate, okay, this are the 20 minutes I want to spend there today. And if you are spending money, then this is the money I'm going to spend there. Personal profile. Make a professional personal profile. Always have a good picture on your profile. Always have keywords on your on the title of your profile. Be very clear of what kind of write your previous experience very professionally. Write your interests very professionally. Since you're doing business, your personal profile on social media is checked by everybody and it should present you very nicely. Work hard on that. Make out time for that. I've seen many people having very poor personal profile on their social media pages. If a prospect sees that or a customer sees that, the next time he is not interested to visit you. Connections and relationships. Be wise whom you connect with and make relationships with. When somebody sends you a connection request, don't just jump into making connections for the sake of making connections. Oh, I've got 1,000 connections. Oh, I've got 5,000 connections. But you should always make sure that all your connections are valuable. Analyze your connections and your relationships to find out whom you want to keep connections with, who is your prospective customer, and then make connections and relationships. This is the strategy that I suggest. Complement resources on all social tools and website. If you are writing article, make sure you post your article on your website as well as your social media pages. There should be symmetry between all your social media tools that you are using and your website. They all should reflect the same message about you to your prospects and your customers. So complement and use resources from one to another. Connect to CRM. Use a good CRM. Whatever activity you do on social media, put it on a CRM so that you know exactly what you have done with one particular customer. Um, I understand that the information is stored is with you when you directly communicate with a particular prospect or customer on social media. It is definitely there always. But what I'm saying is that let's say you move the connection to a of course, sale is not made only on social media. After some time spending on social media, you can ask them to connect with you on email or on phone. But making data of all communication with your prospects and customers in a CRM is a good idea, is a good strategy. With social media sites, we have talked about it. It depends upon your objectives and goals. You can use any, but don't try to be in any social media site just for the sake of being in a social media site. You should have a presence, but don't spend a lot of money and time on all social media sites. See what works best for you. Tools and skills, of course, there are so many tools available to maximize your productivity in social media, and the skills you need to upgrade. What I understand is that if you are become acquainted with a particular social media, once you use it for a particular time, ROI measurement, you should measure what you have achieved after every month, after every quarter of your social media efforts, how many leads are generated, how many actually conversions you have made from uh, prospecting to sales. And that should be, or if you are awareness, then how, if you are doing awareness, then how many people have really actually expressed uh, interest in your product. So you should always make a measurement of the ROI. Opportunity cost. Of course, it's your time is the most valuable resource. Don't spend all your time in social media. It it sucks in all the time that you want to spend there. Don't do that. Be wise and make brackets of time you want to spend in social media, as we have already discussed. Be cautious. Whatever you write in social media, you should make sure you should always display integrity. You should always display good mannerism. Whatever you write on social media is there for a long time, and it haunts you sometime. You might offend somebody unknowingly. So be wise and be cautious. So these are the strategies that I suggest for using social media pages. Any questions? Any comments? Any suggestions? So Hamad is asking, can you share a professional profile and guide us why that profile is professional? Can we have format to measure ROI? Two questions here. First of all, about the professional profile, um, I think you can follow people on LinkedIn and see what you like. it is always, since everybody's profile is very, it's all over, like it's always there. So the best way to learn is visit the profile of the few people whom you think are doing good, and try to make an understanding of what good looks good to you, and uh, whatever you do, um, learn from the learn from what others have, and you will, and slowly and gradually build your profile, so you would know what is a good profile. How can we have format to measure ROI? This is the next question by Hamad. ROI basically depends upon your objectives. ROI is not a very complex term. ROI is only what you want to achieve. Let's say I want to achieve that, maybe I want to have, let's say, 20 prospects turning into customers in the next 3 months. So this is how I'm going to measure my time spent on social media. So ROI is simply anything that you want to achieve, but make sure you write it down with a date, so that you can compare it with your achievements uh, when the time has passed. So, Kashif has liked the 10 steps. Thank you so much. Maybe yours. Well, of course, you can see mine as well. I try to maintain and update it as much on LinkedIn. So if you can learn from it, but I'm very sure so many other people have better profiles than me. So don't just stop on my profile. Try to see at least 5 to 10 profiles before you want to make your profile. Can you please demonstrate how to calculate ROI on B2B sales? I've just elaborated on what ROI is, and what you can do with ROI. So in B2B sales. So I believe that is clear enough. If it is not, Basit, you can ask any question if you want to, and maybe we can answer. Nayyar Abdurrab, thank you so much for liking the presentation. Umair Akram, thank you so much for liking the presentation. Okay, I think we have 10 minutes left, and I have got, I think, 2 or 3 slides left. I've got one more comment in the chat right now. Let me look at it. Walaikum Assalam from Staff College. I can take your question a bit later, whatever your name is, Mister. I would like to finish my other 3 slides before the time runs out, and then we can have questions for whatever time is available. Okay, so LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's look at the strengths of all the platforms. In LinkedIn, I also suggest that you join groups. There are groups of interest of the people. And can you please share that how can we download movies from LinkedIn contacts? Zahid Mehboob. Okay, so as far as LinkedIn is concerned, join groups. Of course, there are a lot of interest groups in LinkedIn. You can join them and find out people of your interest, maybe what your customer is interested in. Accept connection requests. Of course, you have to see exactly whose connection requests you want to accept, and connect and accept that. Send connection requests to people you have met. It's a very good strategy to send connection requests to all the people you meet in businesses, in conference, in meetings, in networking dinners. It's important to connect with them socially online. Post and comment, of course, keep a follow-up of what exactly everyone in your group is doing, and comment on what they do. It is important to have a relationship and also post your own polls or maybe comments or maybe something you have learned. Share with your LinkedIn connections. Write articles for LinkedIn and your website. Of course, you need to write articles. That's a good strategy. Facebook, generally speaking, is not considered to be mostly for businesses, business to business marketing. So it's mostly for families, and some business groups are important. So if that is important for you, then you can do that. Twitter, small tweets are important in two ways. First of all, if you want to follow some of your customers, follow them on Twitter if they are really very heavy on Twitter to find out what they are doing. Maybe you can maybe maybe follow some of the people who do good tweets about your industry and then retweet it to your customers. And it is only powerful in selected industries, what I know. I think this is the last, yes, this is the last slide. Prospecting via social media. Okay, so how to prospect via social media? Ways to prospect: dialogue directly, request to connect to people you are trying to reach, and respond to people inquiring about you. There are three ways to do prospecting in social media. First of all, directly you can start a dialogue. As I say, do it subtly, do it in a decorum, start developing interest, talking about things that are of interest of both you and the customer, and then talk about what you have to offer to help them. If you want to connect a C-level executive or somebody not directly, it is one of the strategies can be that you can connect with any of them in their middle management or somebody working in the same department as the CXO, and then request him to connect with people you're trying to reach, or maybe a common friend, a common connection. Request him to connect to the people you are trying to reach. Respond to people inquiring about you, and of course you can respond to people who are inquiring about you or sending you messages. Be soft, as already mentioned by me a lot of times. Go offline, start your communication with on social media, and then go offline. Make group postings, keyword searches, do search wisely of the information that you want to have about people you want to meet, you want to connect with, and learn about prospects and their colleagues. As already discussed earlier, you should learn about prospects and their colleagues in order to connect with the whole organization. Yes, Basit.
I want to say,
There's one
how
question.
can
There's one question. Let me answer that first. By Mujahid Ali. I'm not a marketing person, but only works on brand image through our CSR portfolio, as mine is B2B like H&M, Spirit, etc. Do I need CRM? CRM is an internal system in order to keep record of all your communication and all your data about your customer. For a few clients, less than 50, maybe you don't need. But if you're, or if you there's a limited communication with your customers, you don't need. But if the communication is more frequent, or if your number of prospects and customers is high, I do suggest that you should use a CRM. I hope I have answered your question, Mujahid. These days, CRM is a must. Jibasit, you were saying something?
yes, yes, sir. My question is that from we can find currently in St. Keywords.
Sorry, please say again.
From we can find currency in St. Keywords.
I'm sorry, I did not understand it.
I can repeat it.
I did not understand your question. I'm sorry, your voice is not clear very much. Can you say it again? Basit, your voice is not clear. Can you say it again? Hamad, KYC, know your customer from form might be a medium tool for CRM, or it's a whole different story. No, I think CRM is a much more detailed. It's not just a form if you're talking about. CRM has more to store in it, and many common CRMs are maybe Salesforce, maybe Bitrix 24. You can use that. From where can we find currently in? Okay, through SEO. Of course, through SEO, you can find out what is the trend keywords for you. Thank you so much, Mujahid, for helping. Okay, so let's go to the last slide. Our next public training is Mastering Sales Negotiations and Closing. We will discuss about all about sales negotiation and closing. It's a 3-day training, 3 days training on August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Please join us. It's a paid training, and I'll send you information about this particular training soon. And I expect people from other parts of the world as well. So medium of delivery will be English. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, we can still work out. Geomel, you want to ask something?
Assalamualaikum, sir. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. My question is that if one company is doing the B2B, B2C business and they want to start the business into B2B, and
Okay.
what, in your experience, what are the strategies these company make?
I've already outlined 11 strategies to start with on B2B presentation. My presentation for today will be uploaded on our website,
Mhm.
salesinstituteofpakistan.com. You can always go about it and see again the video of today's presentation if you want to revise all the 10 strategies that I have mentioned.
Mhm.
These strategies have been uh, prepared by me after a lot of experience in the market. So I'm definitely sure if one works through these strategies, they will have a good B2B presence and prospecting and sales strategy in the social media. Is it okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so
And
much.
one question I do not know it is aligned with the presentation is that in Pakistan we do not have a lot of reports about what is happening in the consumer behavior. So you have any recommendation for it? How can we know that what are the consumer behavior?
Consumer behavior reports are typical to one particular country, and secondly, they are, as the name suggests, it is all about consumers. So, my experience is primarily on B2B sales, and this presentation is about
Okay,
B2B
okay.
sales. So, I would not know much about the consumer reports, but I'm very sure many of them are available with researchers over here who do marketing research in Pakistan market. Any other
Okay,
questions,
thank you,
please?
sir.
You're welcome. Any other questions, please? Well, if there are no other questions, I should thank you all for joining us today and your time. This particular slide gives all the information about how you can contact us on email, on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter pages. So please do contact us for any any kind of service that you need or any questions you have. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Over to Iram.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think we have another question from Hamad.
What G. Hamad has asked, will there be any training to target a B2B customer 360? I mean, what medium can be used to target those customers? Like we can talk about a retail product, targeting the consumer via mass advertising, BTLs, digital boosting and all. So how we can go with B2B to crack them in their every move. Please keep following us on our LinkedIn page, on our social media pages. We will definitely have training to cover all these areas, and do follow us, and let us know what and when the training of our interns comes, do join us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Farooq. Thank you, Shafqat, for the wonderful words.